Hey guys, thank you so much for coming to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about what the future of the electoral map is going to look like. So over the next few election cycles, what can we expect to see? What states are going to fade in and out of competitiveness? And where's the Democratic Party going to become strong? And where's the Republican Party going to be strong? Before I dig right into that, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. It would really mean a lot. So let's get right into it. The first thing that I want to note is that I think overall nationally, the Democratic Party is in favor right now. So the general population of the US is moving more towards the Democratic Party than the Republican Party. I will say that the two regions that I'm going to focus on, the Sun Belt and the Rust Belt at first, among that, the Sun Belt is clearly the one that is more in favor of the Democratic Party. The Rust Belt, I think, is shifting towards the Democratic Party, but much more slowly than the national shift that's occurring. So I want to talk about what the Sun Belt is going to look like going into the next few election cycles, and I think that is pretty clear. States such as Nevada, Arizona, Texas, Florida, Georgia, and North Carolina are going to either flip towards the Democratic Party or at least become extremely competitive as suburban areas increasingly trend more towards the Democratic Party, and the minority populations in these states, particularly the Hispanic populations in these states, grow rapidly, much more rapidly than population growth in other parts of the country. What I will build on this is to say that I think states such as South Carolina and Mississippi could become extremely competitive, and that states such as Alabama, Louisiana, Oklahoma, Alaska, and Utah could fade more out of the Republicans' hands. Not to say that they won't still be very Republican leaning, but I think they could still be very competitive because of this population growth. Similar things may even happen in the state of Montana, which is going to see a high growth of minority voters in the next few election cycles. So one caveat that I will put with this is that I think voter suppression could become an extremely hot button issue in the Sun Belt going into the next few election cycles. We've already seen in states throughout the Bible Belt, such as Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, and South Carolina. Georgia, especially in 2018 with that national focus on Brian Kemp versus Stacey Abrams, we've already seen that voter suppression is an extremely critical issue here, and that disenfranchised voters in states like Mississippi and South Carolina actually make these states not extremely competitive. So if the entire electorate, if the entire black population of Mississippi were eligible to vote, then Mississippi would be at least a toss-up, if not a lean or safe Democratic state. However, years upon years of different types of voter suppression methods have made this state very safe for the Republican Party. And I think that as the demographics in these states change and fade out of favor of the Republican Party, we could see a vicious fight for control in these Republican-controlled state houses. So now let's move on to the Rust Belt. And so I will say, I do have that disclaimer. I think overall the Rust Belt is trending more towards the Democratic Party, but let's say that it follows its 2016 trajectory, then I think we could see that states such as Wisconsin and Pennsylvania flip over to the lean Republican column, and then Minnesota and Michigan flip over into the tilt Republican column. Ohio and Iowa become safe Republican states, and then I think even Illinois could become a likely, or at worst case for Democrats, a lean Democratic state. And that is because Cook County and the surrounding area is decreasing in population, and I think a lot of these rural voters in Illinois are going to stay there and could make the state much more competitive in the future. That is just a theory. Now, the last thing that I want to talk about, just to say that I do think that there is another potential for Republicans to have strength in some other areas. I will say right now, if we look at the current path of U.S. politics and demographics and where each party is strong, the Democratic Party is in the clear favorite. They are likely to remain competitive in the Rust Belt in the next few election cycles, while they are going to dominate in the Sun Belt. They are likely going to win a few of these Sun Belt states in 2020, such as Arizona, Florida, North Carolina, are all polling in favor of the Democratic Party at the moment. So one potential area that I think is worth discussing that I could see becoming a factor in later election cycles is that this progressive wing of the party that's growing, we have seen the Hispanic voters, younger voters, they all gravitate towards it. So that definitely means that the Sunbelt and Western states are going to remain very safe for the Democratic Party, even if the progressive wing of the party becomes much stronger. Now, states that I think could become in question, though, are states such as New Hampshire, not Vermont, definitely not Vermont, Connecticut, Rhode Island, New Jersey, and Delaware, even Maryland. I think these could all become competitive states. Even Virginia, as we see this trend towards the progressive wing of the party. Now, I'm going to say this, though, is that I don't think that it happens alone. I don't think that if the Democratic Party just trends more towards the progressive side of things, that these states on the eastern seaboard will abandon them and then become virtual toss-ups. I do see a world where that's possible, but I don't necessarily think that that's going to happen. However, it could if the Republican Party shifts its platform, which I do see likely, because quite frankly, on its current trajectory, there is no future for the Republican Party in U.S. politics if they continue with their current platform. They are on the dying side of practically every issue. When it comes to the economy, they're focused on short-term stimulus, and that isn't going to wind up paying off, after Donald Trump's term ends and we head out 4 years into the future. Their economic policy isn't going to make sense. If we go into healthcare and climate change and social issues, stuff like that, they are all on the wrong side of things. As the younger generations, such as Gen Z and millennials, become a larger part of the electorate, they are much more comfortable with these progressive social issues and they actually expect it. So that is where I think the Republican Party will eventually change, just because they don't really have a future if they're not able to change. And I think they could wind up expanding and swallowing part of that, moderate establishment Democratic wing of the party that exists. Because after Donald Trump leaves office, whether it be in 2020 or 2024, I think that the Republican Party will definitely have an identity crisis. So this is what I think the map could potentially look like going into the future, some of these key swing states. Thank you guys so much for watching. This was a really fun video to research and to put together. All right, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I will see you tomorrow.